Brother got my fiancé pregnant before our wedding. Now my family expects me to forgive them, but I told them to off and moved far away. Can you imagine building your entire future with someone, dedicating 5 years of your life to them, only to discover they're pregnant with your own brother's baby? My whole world imploded that day, revealing a betrayal so deep, it reached into every corner of my past, poisoning everything I thought I knew. This isn't just a story, it's the raw, unfiltered truth of how my family shattered and how I'm picking up the pieces. I'm 32, and until a few months ago, I was engaged to Sarah, my girlfriend of 5 years. Then there's Mike, my younger brother, 29. He's always been the family's golden boy, the one who could do no wrong. To truly understand the gut-wrenching pain of this betrayal, I have to go back, way back, to the beginning. Growing up, Mike lived under a golden halo, while I lived under a constant storm cloud. It wasn't just subtle favoritism, it was glaring intense. If Mike broke something, I was blamed. If he started a fight, I was grounded. We could both get straight A's, and he'd get a brand new video game console, while I'd get a pat on the back and a reminder to keep it up. My parents, Tom and Linda, always had an excuse. Mike's younger, he needs more attention. You're the older one, you should know better. Or the classic, Mike's just more sensitive, we have to be careful with him. This relentless cycle of false standards and emotional manipulation made me feel worthless, like a burden in my own home. As we got older, it only got worse. I worked my tail off, got into a good college with a partial scholarship, and my parents barely acknowledged it. But when Mike decided to attend community college, lavish celebration, a brand new car for him to commute in. Never mind, I'd been biking 5 miles to my part-time job for years. I fled that toxic environment the first chance I got, putting myself through college with 2 jobs and loans. Mike, meanwhile, dropped out after 1 semester, declaring college wasn't for him. My parents? They lauded his self-awareness, financing his string of spectacularly failed business ventures, draining their retirement fund in the process. Even with distance, they always found a way to drag me back. Holiday dinners were a masterclass in subtle insults. Oh, you're still in that entry-level position? Mike's thinking about starting another business. So entrepreneurial. This, while I was building a stable career and Mike was burning through their savings. Despite it all, I tried to keep a connection with Mike. He was my brother. But it was always one-sided. I'd reach out, try to genuinely connect, and he'd either ignore me or turn it into a competition. My promotion? He'd suddenly have a big opportunity brewing. My new girlfriend? He'd be in a super serious relationship. I met Sarah when I was, ironically, trying to reconnect with Mike. She was a friend of one of his short-lived girlfriends, and we just clicked. She was brilliant, funny, kind, and absolutely stunning. For the first time, I felt truly happy, truly valued. My parents, of course, weren't thrilled. They made snide remarks about her being out of my league. Mike, though, became strangely interested, always asking about Sarah, wanting to know everything. At the time, I was just relieved he seemed to care about my life. Looking back, the red flags were waving like crazy. Sarah and I moved in together after a year, and it was incredible. Solid careers, travel, dreams of the future. I thought, this is it. I could finally have the life I always craved. On our 4th anniversary, I proposed. Nothing fancy, just a quiet dinner and a heartfelt speech. She said yes, and I was on top of the world. We planned a long engagement, no rush. We had our whole lives ahead of us. Or so I believed. When we told my family, their reactions were varied. My mom plastered on a fake smile, "Oh, how nice," in a tone that screamed the opposite. My dad grunted, "Good luck with that," and returned to the TV. But Mike's reaction was chilling. He congratulated us, but that smile, it was almost predatory. I brushed it off, blaming my own anxieties. The next year was a blur of wedding plans and work stress. We were both pushing hard, saving for the wedding, for a down payment. We didn't see each other as much, but I told myself every couple goes through phases. Right? The signs were there, I just didn't see them. Sarah grew distant, always on her phone, giggling at texts she'd dismiss as work friends. She started going out more, coming home late, smelling of wine and cologne. But I trusted her. Completely. Cheating? Never. And certainly not with my own brother. Then, about 4 months ago, everything changed. Sarah was moody, irritable, constantly nauseous. A tiny spark of hope ignited in me. Could she be pregnant? We hadn't actively tried, but we'd talked about kids. I started imagining nursery colors, baby names, how I'd support her. Then one night, she sat me down. Tears streaming, she dropped the bomb. She was pregnant. But it wasn't mine. My breath hitched. We hadn't been intimate in a while due to our schedules, but this? When I asked who the father was, she broke down, whispering, "It's Mike." My universe didn't just crash, it vaporized. Everything I thought was real, everything I'd built my life on, turned to ash. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. All that was left was a suffocating wave of betrayal and loss. Sarah tried to explain, words tumbling out between sobs. It started at our engagement party. Mike had approached her, telling her she was making a mistake with me, preying on her insecurities, promising her everything I couldn't provide. It wasn't a one-time thing. They'd been having an affair for months. I kicked her out that night. I couldn't look at her, couldn't be in the same room. She pleaded for forgiveness, swearing she loved me, but all I could see was her lying to my face, wearing my ring, while sleeping with my brother. After she left, I called Mike. I don't remember what I said. It was a blur of rage and pain. He tried to play it off, a drunken mistake, meaningless. But when I pushed, he snapped, "Well, maybe if you'd been a better fiancé, she wouldn't have come to me." Something in me snapped. A red haze descended. I jumped in my car, flooring it to his apartment, ready to make him regret those words. I don't know what I would have done, but when I arrived, my parents were already there. Mike had clearly called them first, spinning some sob story about Sarah seducing him. And of course, they believed him. They always do. My mother immediately started lecturing me about forgiveness and family, while my father just stood there, arms crossed, looking disappointed in me, not Mike. I tried to explain. They wouldn't listen. They kept insisting I needed to forgive Mike, to support Sarah through her pregnancy, because family comes first. That's when I lost it. Years of pent-up resentment, all that anger, exploded. I told them exactly how I felt about their twisted sense of loyalty, how they'd always favored Mike, never once stood by me. I told Mike he was dead to me, no longer my brother. And to my parents? I told them they could have the son they always wanted, because they no longer had me. I stormed out, ignoring their desperate cries. I drove for hours, no destination, just an overwhelming need to be away. When I finally got home, my phone was blowing up. Dozens of missed calls, messages. Sarah begging for another chance. Mike, alternating between fake apologies and fresh accusations. But most were from my parents, demanding I grow up and make amends. I ignored them all. I barely ate, barely slept, called out of work, burning through my vacation days. I couldn't face anyone. Couldn't even process explaining this nightmare. I just sat in my apartment, replaying every moment, every interaction, trying to pinpoint where I went wrong. It's been 3 months. I've moved apartments, changed my phone number, started therapy. But they won't give up. They've started showing up at my office, trying to ambush me, push for a reconciliation. My mother cornered me in the parking lot, wailing about me ripping the family apart. My father left harsh voicemails, telling me to man up and forgive Mike. Mike himself tried to approach me several times, but I managed to avoid him. They even sent their flying monkeys, extended family members I hadn't spoken to in years, to guilt-trip me. Aunts, uncles, cousins suddenly calling, preaching about the importance of family and letting bygones be bygones. It's like they're living in an alternate reality, where Mike and Sarah made a little mistake, not a life-shattering one. Yesterday, I got a message from Sarah. She's keeping the baby, intends to co-parent with Mike. And my parents? They're overjoyed to become grandparents, conveniently forgetting the circumstances and the harsh remarks they used to make about Sarah when she was with me. Her message was full of apologies, explanations, claiming she and Mike found true love through this terrible scenario. She even had the nerve to suggest we could all become friends eventually, for the sake of the child. I am at my wit's end. Part of me wants to just disappear, start over in a new state, a new identity, where no one knows this mess. But another part is so furious, I want to stay and fight, to make them see the twisted reality of what they've done. This betrayal has affected every aspect of my life. I can't be alone with my thoughts. Dating? The idea of trusting someone again paralyzes me. I've even lost friends who think I should take the high road and reunite with my family. Family. As if I'm the villain for refusing to play happy families with the people who hurt me most. The thought of Sarah and Mike raising a child together, a child that should have been mine, is a constant stab in the gut. Intellectually, I know the child is innocent. It's not the baby's fault its parents are lying, cheating scumbags. But I can't bring myself to feel anything but nausea. My parents have already started discussing how I should be involved in the child's life, how I'll be an uncle. The concept makes me physically ill. How can I look at that child and not see the ultimate symbol of my brother's betrayal? So, I reached out online, desperate for advice. Am I the bad guy for refusing to forgive them? Am I wrong to cut off my family? The outpouring of support was overwhelming. It wasn't just validation, it was a lifeline. I started taking steps. I consulted a lawyer about a restraining order. HR at work was incredibly supportive, even offering more remote work. I started seriously considering relocating to another city, maybe even Seattle, where my company had offices. Sarah's own sister, Emma, even reached out to me, disgusted with Sarah's actions, and has become an unexpected ally, keeping me informed of their twisted reality. But things only escalated. About 2 weeks later, the fight for the restraining order became a full-blown ordeal. My lawyer filed the paperwork, and we had a hearing. I thought it would be straightforward. I was wrong. My parents showed up with their own lawyer, some fancy guy in an expensive suit, and tried to paint me as the unstable one, tearing the family apart over a simple misunderstanding. As if Mike had just stumbled and fallen into my fiancé. But the judge wasn't buying it. She issued the restraining order against Mike and my parents. My mother cried in court, my father glared at me like I'd committed murder. But the look on Mike's face, if looks could kill, I'd be dead. As we left, he tried to approach me, scoffing, "This isn't over. You can't hide behind a piece of paper forever." It shook me, but at least I had some legal protection. Work became a nightmare too. Remember how my family kept showing up? It came to a head when my mother burst into the lobby, photo album in hand, weeping to my colleagues about how close her boys used to be, showing them baby pictures of Mike and me. She was in the middle of telling a story about us bathing together as toddlers when I found her. I cut her off, told her to leave or I'd call the police for trespassing and violating the restraining order. Her face crumpled as if I'd slapped her. Good. Security escorted her out, and I spent an hour doing damage control. My manager eventually suggested a paid personal sabbatical. I didn't want to leave. Work was the only thing keeping me sane. But I knew the decision was already made. As I packed my office, I overheard coworkers gossiping about the guy whose brother got his fiancée pregnant. I slammed the door, a small, bitter satisfaction seeing them jump. But nothing prepared me for the gym. I was trying to punch out my frustration, lost in my workout, when I heard his voice. Mike. Smirking. Breaking the restraining order. I told him to leave before I called the cops, but he just laughed, saying he'd tell them I threatened him and Sarah. That's when I finally, truly lost it. Years of emotional abuse, of being overlooked, of being betrayed, exploded. My fist landed squarely on his jaw. He stumbled, then lunged. We were on the floor, trading blows like kids again, but this time, there were no parents to separate us, no one telling me to be the bigger person. I got in some good hits. Mike's nose was bleeding, my knuckles were swelling. The gym staff broke us up, threatening police. I grabbed my things and fled, shaking with adrenaline. Still reeling, I got a call from an unknown number. Sarah. Screaming at me about Mike's broken nose, how he might need surgery. I actually laughed. A raw, choked sound. The sheer absurdity of her being angry at me after everything they'd done was too much. I told her I was sorry if I'd upset her little boyfriend she'd been sleeping with behind my back for months. She started sobbing, complaining about her anxiety, the baby feeling her pain, how selfish I was. I hung up and blocked her. The fallout from that fight was huge. My phone blew up with texts, some supportive, some condemning me for assaulting my poor, defenseless brother. Sarah's parents, bless them, reached out again, expressing their disgust with their daughter and their support for me. A small comfort, but I'll take it. Mike filed assault charges. My lawyer groaned, but we're fighting back, pressing charges against him for violating the restraining order. It's been humiliating, giving police statements, showing my bruised face, justifying defending myself against my own brother. My cousin Amy, who's always been close called. She told me my parents are spreading lies, claiming I'm having a mental breakdown, that Sarah and Mike only got together after our breakup, and I'm just envious. It infuriates me that they're twisting the narrative while I'm trying to heal. With all this chaos, I realized I couldn't stay in this city. Too many memories, too many chances to run into them. I started looking into internal transfers, and Seattle seemed like a real possibility. I'm not a fan of constant rain, but at this point, I'd move to the moon to escape this turmoil. The thought of a fresh start, a new life where no one knows me as the guy whose brother got his fiancée pregnant, was incredibly alluring. Then, about a week later, my decision was solidified. I got back from another meeting with my lawyer about Mike's assault charges, and in my mailbox, I found it, a note from Sarah. An ultrasound image. And a handwritten letter, gushing about how happy she and Mike were, how she hoped I could find it in my heart to be pleased for them, and how the baby would be delighted to have its uncle in its life. I saw red. Before I even thought, I grabbed my phone, unblocked Sarah, and dialed her number. She picked up on the second ring, and I just let go. Everything. All the rage, the pain, the betrayal I'd bottled up. I told her exactly what I thought of her, Mike, and their beautiful little family. I told her she was insane if she thought I'd ever want anything to do with that kid. I told her she, Mike, and the baby could all go to hell. It wasn't my finest moment, but it felt like every word I'd been holding back finally erupted. That's when I knew I couldn't stay. That same night, I called my supervisor and told him I wanted the Seattle transfer. He was visibly relieved. I think he was worried about how all this drama was affecting the company. He promised to expedite the papers, and by morning, it was official. 2 weeks to pack up my life and move across the country. My family, naturally, found out. My parents, unsurprisingly, were furious. They showed up at my apartment again, violating the restraining order, trying to talk me out of it. My mother was wailing, accusing me of abandoning the family. My father was screaming, calling me selfish and immature. I didn't engage. I just called the police and had them removed. As they were being escorted out, my mother screamed, "You'll regret this. Family is everything, and you're throwing it all away." I closed the door immediately and went back to packing. Mike's reaction was different. He didn't contact me directly, probably because of the legal mess, but he posted a long, self-pitying rant on social media about how some people can't handle seeing others happy and how he and Sarah were rising above the hate to focus on their new family. It stung, seeing how many people liked and commented in his favor. But I reminded myself, their opinion is meaningless. They don't know the truth. Sarah's response was the most startling. After our phone call, she contacted Emma. Emma told me Sarah had broken down, admitting she finally realized what she and Mike had done was terrible, and she was scared of the future. It's a small victory, but a victory nonetheless. Even my cousin Amy, bless her, helped me pack, revealing that my mother's sister, my aunt, had actually had a heated argument with my mom, accusing her of always favoring Mike and pushing me away. She said my parents were finally reaping what they'd sown. It was validating to hear someone else finally call them out. My lawyer assures me my move won't affect the legal case. We're still pursuing charges against Mike for violating the restraining order and defending the assault charges he brought against me. My lawyer is confident the judge will see through Mike's lies, especially with his track record. My moving across the country should also prove I'm no threat to Mike, which might help get his charges dropped. I don't know if I'll post any more updates. Part of starting over is leaving the past behind, and as helpful as this online community has been, I think it's time for me to move on from constantly revisiting this story. I need to focus on building my new life, not obsessing over the old one. So, I guess this is my final update. Wish me luck, everyone. I've got a whole new life ahead of me in Seattle, and I intend to make the absolute most of it. Have you ever had to cut ties with family, even when it felt impossible? What was your breaking point? Share your story in the comments below. I'd really love to hear how you navigated something so incredibly difficult.